roof. I was thinking that. I was like, is that what you're literally referencing now?
Yes and no. It came out, and then I was like, oh. I think we're going well. And it was like the first one. I was like, those are Jesus words. Oh yeah, I love it.
I steal every song. Yeah. I was like, excuse you. You made that. Baker
It is. Yeah, I was harassed with Baker boys. Just the Baker boys. The other ones were there.
Is Joel not here? He's back there. He's getting my coffee.
Well, thank you everybody for coming tonight. Just a couple things. Stores open until 9, so make sure you make your purchases before then. So the registers do close at that time. For those of you that don't know, and I think most of you do, the bathrooms are down this aisle there. They'll be on your left. So, but once again, thank you for joining us. I love doing these things for debut authors. It's just kind of exciting to have them come and talk about their first books. So, Autumn is going to join us and tell us all about all that fills us up.
Can you hear me okay? Okay. I am Autumn. I think most of you know that. I wrote a book. It's called All That Fills Us, and it's about a young woman with anorexia who decides to embark on a cross-country pilgrimage to Mount Rainier, Washington, as a last-ditch effort to make something of her life. And along the way, she meets strangers who help her heal and find God. And that's what's my book. And I won't keep you long, but I just have a few things to share with you all. So I don't know about you, but I grew up thinking that true strength came from independence. So we live in a culture where the individual is celebrated above all. Individual achievements, individual triumphs. We're supposed to stand alone among the crowd. We're supposed to fight our own battles and chart our own course. Not that independence is a bad thing, right? Like, no one's living with our parents forever, and they don't want to cook our meals, and sorry, Mom, and our laundry forever. So it's important. Independence is a good thing. But the benefits of independence take a turn when they become synonymous with strength and resilience. It becomes problematic when we refuse help because we were always told we should learn to fix our problems on our own. Like most things in my life, I took this mindset to the extreme when I was young. I didn't want anyone in my family to have to worry about me, and I didn't want friends because they held the power to hurt or judge me. I could stand on my own 2 feet, and I could figure this out on my own. But nothing could magnify my problems better than shrinking the world down to the size of me. So once I isolated myself from everyone, I left myself no choice but to become my own personal sounding board, which, surprise, surprise, led to some incredibly self-destructive behavior. I sat alone at lunch to avoid others asking why I wasn't eating more. I stayed away from extracurriculars and social activities so I could get in several hours of exercise a day. I changed in the far back corner of the locker room for gym, away from all the laughing girls, because I never wanted the chance for their laughter to turn on me and my body. It wasn't until I tentatively began to let others back into my life, or they kindly forced their way back in, that I could even comprehend that healing was not only necessary, but possible. The communities came in unexpected forms. There was the journal my mom and I passed back and forth every night. There was the retreats to my grandparents' house where my grandma would lovingly prepare dishes with family history, information she seemed to find way more important than nutrition labels. And there was, of course, the high school cross-country team that brought levity and helping purpose to my excessive need to exercise. And that's one of the biggest things I've had to unlearn and relearn time and time again throughout this lifelong healing process. God did not mean for us to go through this darkness alone. Healing isn't something that happens alone. I think above independence, our God is one who wishes us interdependence. Even Mel, my protagonist in All That Fills Us, who steps out on what most would picture a solitary journey, doesn't find her healing on the road by herself. She finds it through all the strangers and trail angels who stumble into her life. She finds it in their words and their small comforts and their ordinary acts of love. God reveals himself through these encounters and solidifies in us a sense of worthiness that, as much as our inner critics try to fight it, it's hard to ignore. Like Mel, we're all seeking our own mountain, somewhere or something that reminds us that, thank goodness, our lives are bigger than just us. And the beautiful thing is that we don't have to make this pilgrimage alone. Even though Mel walks almost all her miles by herself, she is carried by the encouragement and love that she's collected from others along the way. And she will not keep her story to herself. She will share with others the beauty of what she's discovered, so they too can feel the pull of a calling bigger than our own tiny universes. In the book, one of Mel's many breakthroughs to healing is the prevalence of the feasting imagery in the Bible. She marvels at the thought that perhaps God made eating a necessary act so we could experience ahead of time what it's like to be taken care of, fed. But this feasting imagery is also a communal activity. Not some stuffy dinner party, but a table piled high with good food and packed tight with good friends, sharing funny and personal stories and laughing together late into the night. That's the sort of heaven that God offers us right here on earth. So thank you all for coming to my table. Thank you for making interdependence such a joy. Whatever darkness you faced, whatever inner demons you tried to take on your own, I hope Mel's story and my story remind you that there are people who get you and long to walk alongside you. Not for anything you've done or anyone you're trying to be, but for the simple truth of who you are right now. I see many people here tonight who continue to show up at my table, even when I couldn't recognize myself. They brought there's sometimes metaphorical dishes of unconditional love and acceptance, and there's sometimes literal dishes of comfort food. They showed up time and time again, even when I begged to be left to my own devices, because they are the embodiment of loving interdependency God wishes for all of us. So thank you for showing up again and again for all the Mels in your life, myself included. I hope I did well justice in All That Fills Us. May our feasting together go on throughout our lifetimes and continue long, long after that. Thank you.
Now, I'm just open to questions, so if anybody has a question. Everybody's read the book, right? It's really good, yeah. Nice sound, yeah. So I'm gonna ask them, because I always like to ask this, what's the hardest part about writing? What's the easiest part about writing?
Well, I think for this book, it was kind of the same thing, because I think it was very hard to go back to the beginning of my journey and go back to like how I was having all those self-destructive thoughts and like what it was like to be in the really bad part of anorexia. Not that there are any good parts, but you know what I mean. But like, so it was hard to go back there because I finished writing for the day and be like, why am I so grumpy? Like, why am I snapping at everyone? It's like, oh, because I had to go back to that really dark place in my life. But it was also kind of the easiest too, because those patterns were still very familiar to me, and it was very easy to like unearth those experiences and those thought processes because they're never too far away from my mind. So yeah, kind of the same thing.
Anybody else?
Sorry, can I ask a question?
So along the way on Mel's journey, she meets a lot of people, right? So I'm curious, did you have a favorite secondary character and all that fills us? Either, you know, favorite to write or just someone you enjoy for a certain reason?
That's a great question. I really like writing Sandra. She was the one, she was the hoarder in Washington State. She was just really, she came to me very easily, and she was just a fun person to write. I feel like we would be very good friends, and I would like to listen to all her weird stories. And yeah, I thought she was very honest, and she was just exactly And she came to me exactly when Mel needed her most, and that was just like a breath of fresh air for coming into my life. So yeah, thanks, Sandra.
This question just popped into my head. What's the weirdest place that you either worked on writing the book or worked on edits? Like in a closet, in the bathtub, in the airport, like in a tree house. Those are just examples. You have to choose one.
It's really work on. I mean, I guess in the middle of the night in my bed, but that's, you know, that's just for productive purposes. It's very warm and toasty up there, but yeah, pretty much. I didn't work on it anywhere weird. I don't think so.
Just normal places.
Yeah, just normal places. I did when I was coming up with the ideas for the book. I spent a whole summer. We were trying to like traveling around. Went to Virginia. We went to like Philadelphia and all that stuff. And I would keep a notebook with me. And I remember we went on a roller coaster. And I was like, oh, this would be a really good scene in the book. And so I pulled out my phone and I wrote that scene. And so I had all these random notes at the end of that trip. And a lot of them ended up in there. So, yeah.
What started Mount Rainier as Mel's destination? I know you're living out in Washington State now. You weren't living there when you wrote the book, so. And I know that you love Mount Rainier, but I guess why Mount Rainier? Why was that the destination of the book mentioned?
Yeah, so the first time I went out to Mount Rainier, I just graduated college. My husband and I went out and we took like a 34-hour road trip out there and we just didn't stop and we like survived up gummy bears and adrenaline, and we made it there and we stepped out of our car, you know, smelling terrible, and, you know, no hope left in the world, and we just stepped into like this paradise. Like, where are we? This is beautiful, and I've never been like that floored by beauty ever. And you know, we're at a time in our life where we didn't really have jobs and we definitely didn't have money and no security whatsoever. And instead of freaking out about it, we just got to enjoy our company. And like, there's something about being in like the shadow of a mountain that's so huge to make your problems like seem so small. And so I wanted a place that was very, you know, singular for Mel to go to, and somewhere where she could be just reminded, just kind of like God's beauty just kind of shoved in her face and just completely undeniable, so she could see her own beauty reflected back in that.
I guess I could stand up and make it easier. Get your steps in. I really enjoyed, one of the parts of the book that I enjoyed was all the postcards being sent from all these different places. I had a friend who traveled a lot when I was a kid, and I never got to go anywhere, and she always sent me postcards where she went. So I was wondering if there was a similar thing in your life with postcards in particular, or letters, or something like that. What was it that drew you to that action as a way to connect those characters?
I didn't realize this till kind of I was halfway through writing it, but I think I drifted towards postcards so much because of the journal my mom and I kept when I was young. I think that was the only, we're both we're good written communicators, obviously not good verbal communicators, as you can obviously tell. So we were able to be, I don't know, I was able to write things down without expecting judgment that I don't like I could say out loud. And so we would pass this journal back and forth every night, and I would just spill my guts out every single night, like, this is what I didn't eat, this is how I was feeling today. And my mom would just write back and like just encourage me constantly. And I think that was why I drifted towards that, because I wanted some piece of that in the book. Like, it doesn't always have to be, you know, face-to-face communication that helps heal. Sometimes it's just like writing your word vomit out, and just for somebody to maybe read it one day. So.
Can you talk about what you're working on next?
Well, in my free time, I'm actually working on a story about my mom. Sorry, Mom. she had me when she was in college, and her and my dad didn't like each other at all. And there was like a really interesting story that like has kind of been revealed to me more and more as I got older, and how, you know, her parents kind of like pushed her out of their lives, and my dad's parents completely took her in under their wing, and how she kind of found God through that experience. So yeah, that's what I'm working on now, like a fictionalized version of that story.
That sounds great. Anybody else?
Does that make mom nervous?
No, I trust her.
Yeah, I think someone chatted a question.
Somebody is on it.
I'm on it.
She's actually, if there's one, you're welcome to ask it, but otherwise Becky gets them.
Oh, yeah, she can do it. That's.
Oh, we do have one. I'm gonna get back to Mike.
So someone online wants to know if you reference professional help at all in Mel's journey in the book.
Oh, in the book, do I? At the end of the book, spoiler alert, she does talk about how when she gets back to civilization, if you will, she's planning on seeking professional help and seeing a therapist and all that, but there's no a trail therapist that comes along, you know, professional. But that is their future plans.
There should be, that should be a job.
Okay, well, we do have another one. Just for these groups.
If you had to cast Mel and Alex in a cinematic feature, how would you do that?
I don't know the actors.
It's a good question.
Anyone who would take the role. Make sure. That's satisfying you, I'm not sure. I don't know anyone that the right age. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not really into the whole Hollywood scene, but sorry. Thanks.
You're scared of hard, they just read it.
How did you know that it was done? And what is the first thing you did when you realized your book is finished?
It's a really good question. To be honest, I kind of rushed the ending a little bit the first time around because somebody actually wanted to read it, and I was like, I had been putting it off for a very long time, finishing it, and I think I needed the motivation to get there. And so somebody said, "Oh, I'll read your book," and I was like, "Well, I guess I should probably finish it first." So I did, and it was just like the last, couple of chapters just like completely flowed out of it. It was like the greatest writing experience I've ever had. And it was just so natural, the progression of her healing. And then when I finished it, I was like, well, I guess I should start editing or something, read it over again. It didn't feel done at that point. I knew it was done, but like, even now it doesn't feel done. I hold it in my hand. It's like, is this real? Like, is this really happening? So I don't know when it'll ever feel done, but maybe it will. Maybe it's like, artists say their work is never done. So not that I'm an artist, but something like that. One of those things.
See?
So one of the things that surprised me when reading this book was how much I identified with Mel, because I've never had an eating disorder, but I have a mother who is very conscious of weight and is a lifelong Weight Watchers member and often says things that I don't think she thinks sound the way that they do. And I was wondering if, maybe this is too personal of a question, if there was somebody in your life that set that pattern for you, like there was for Mel, or like, why did you make that choice in the story, perhaps, of having like the mother and the grandmother who were kind of nitpicking and obsessed with things like that?
Right. I think it's just almost all of it, like that I grew up with. They're not, conscious of it. It's just like, they'll say, "Oh, I remember when I was your size, I wish I was still your size. I wish I wish I looked good today. Like I just don't, I don't like the way I look, don't take a picture of me now. And it's just like, it's just an automatic response for so many of us. And as a kid, you just automatically like turn it inward on yourself. So it wasn't any specific person, it was just everyone, like every woman pretty much I came in contact with, it was just part of the culture. I hope we're moving more towards a culture where, you know, we only say positive things about our bodies or don't say anything at all. You know, I tried really hard. I mean, my son's not even 2 yet, but like I tried very hard to like if we take a picture together, I'm not like, oh, I hate that. Like, let me delete this right now. You know, like practicing now because it's just so like ingrained in me. You know, like questioning if something's flattering to wear and like it takes a very conscious effort to go the opposite way. And I think it's just the culture, honestly. Yeah, I'm not any specific person, but I wanted them to embody those two characters.
Autumn, I wondered if there was anything about the book writing experience that caught you by surprise.
I was very surprised how much I liked the editing process. I don't take criticism well. I actually really love the editing process. I think I had great editors, so that really helped. But like, I was like, after I got their edits, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. That actually makes it a lot better. Like they are right, and I was shocked by that. So that was a really fun experience, and I thought I was gonna hate it, and it was great. So that was a really surprising and joyful experience, the editing process.
Okay, she is gonna sign books at the bar top back there, so if you have any other questions or you